Welcome back to the weekly segment on this channel called In Case You Missed It, where we recap the week of basketball. And in case you missed it, the NBA trade deadline is today at 3 p.m. I'm anticipating it to be kind of disappointing, I won't lie. But I'm going to hope for the best, and we're going to recap it tomorrow probably. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But yeah, let's get right into it. Jaden Ivey torched the Kings Wednesday night as he went off for 37, 7, and 6. He is a star in the making, and if he and Cade can learn how to complement each other, they're going to be a deadly backcourt duo. I still can't believe people thought Jordan Poole was going to be an all-star this year. It cracks me up every time I think about it. And when I look at a stat line like he had against the Heat, as he had 16 points and 10 assists on 6 of 21 shooting and 2 of 14 shooting from 3, it just makes me laugh. But to follow that performance up, he played against the Suns, a defensively challenged team, and goes off for 4 points. I am rooting for this brother, but he has been awful in Washington given his expectation. And he also had a stat line of 0 points and 6 fouls. Miles Bridges dropped 41 against the Lakers and 45 against the Raptors this week, but the player we need to discuss is Brandon Miller, who has been amazing of late, especially this week as he averaged 29 points a game this week. Unfortunately for him, he got drafted by the Hornets, so the next 5 years of his career are basically going to be rough and kind of wasted in terms of team success, but Brandon Miller was yelling at his teammates to get back on defense, and that goes to show the determination to win. Hopefully he's the type of player that can change the culture of this team and franchise, and he's looked amazing this year. Alright, we really need to exploit this some more. A 7'4" athletic center was wide open in the paint down 1 with the game on the line, but Vassell decided to shoot a smothered 3. I love Vassell, but you need to have better feel than that, brother. But yeah, this is kind of getting old. I feel bad for Wemby. Feel bad for anyone that taken his over on all the games, because it's stuff like this that really makes you just shake your head. Scoot Henderson had a 30 ball this week, but the thing I want to note is that it was the first time he had an efficient 30 ball. He's had some flashes of showing star potential that most of us were expecting, so I'm really proud to see that and happy to see that. Also, DeAndre Ayton probably had his best game as a Trailblazer Sunday in Denver as he had 27, but the Blazers played the Nuggets twice. We don't need to discuss anymore. Steven Adams has been traded to the Rockets in exchange for Victor Oladipo and 3 second-round picks. Obviously, both players are hurt, so I really don't know why this trade happened. So someone please enlighten me. 3 second-round picks for an injured player is crazy, though, I won't lie. The Toronto Raptors might be immune to winning, because when I read the box scores for some games, it really does not make sense how they lost. But they are going through a rebuild, so it doesn't matter, and the only thing that matters is the performance of players like Scotty Barnes, who has not been the same player he was earlier this year, RJ Barrett, who has looked amazing in Toronto, and Emmanuel Quickley, who has been good as well. Those 3 players play well. It's a successful season. Cam Thomas went for 40 against Philly this week, and that is really the only thing worth noting outside of Ben Simmons, who I don't want to talk about again this week. Hopefully next week we can talk about how successful the trade deadline was for this team, because if not, the Nets could get violated badly next week. Last week we talked about Cam Whitmore, so this week we will talk about another Rockets rookie, Amen Thompson. Amen has been low-key very good off the bench lately, and it seems he has a rhythm and has a good general feel for the NBA now in every aspect outside of scoring. In fairness, we never expected him to be a scorer, but we did expect him to be a high-level passer, defender, and rebounder, and he has been ever since he has been fully healthy. In case you missed it, Zach LaVine will be out for the remainder of the season as he undergoes foot surgery. Get well soon, Zach, and come back with a vengeance, because you desperately need to change the narrative around you. The Bulls need to move DeRozan, Caruso, and Drummond by the deadline today, though, because Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, and Patrick Williams have shown really good flashes of amazing things, although sometimes being inconsistent this year. Allow them to cook for the rest of the year, and we'll see what happens. As most of you know, Steph Curry went off for 60 in an overtime loss in Atlanta this week, which was very disappointing for Warriors fans across the world. We also saw Brandon Podominski get 14 assists in a game, which was cool. But the biggest thing I want to talk about this week is Jonathan Kuminga, who has been off the chain ever since he got a haircut. He is in fact the second best player on the Warriors right now, and the only thing holding him back is the roster construction around him. Trae Young should have been an all-star, and he showed why against my Suns as he had 32 and 15 in a winning effort. He did that on 17 shots too. But I also need to bring up the fact that Luka scored 73 against the Hawks last week, and this week Curry scored 60 on them. If this happens one more time, they are getting the weekly shun. Maybe I was right that the Lakers need to trade LeBron and AD, because everyone certainly proved themselves in Boston without them. But let's congratulate LA on their win in Madison Square Garden this week against the Knicks. I mean, to win by 8 points while OG and Randall are out is truly a remarkable accomplishment. Obviously, I'm a Lakers hater, but they had a great week. Franz Wagner is finally healthy again, as you could tell in his performance against the Pistons, as he went off for 38. But this Magic team, again, is three-point challenged and can't shoot, as you can tell by the box scores of most games, because players are 1 of 5, with the exception of Joe Ingles. It's across the board. 1 of 5, 1 of 7, 1 of 8. It's dreadful. Lauri Markkanen this week averaged 27 points and 8 rebounds on insane efficiency from 3 and the field overall. Although they won't, I would trade him if I were the Jazz, because the package you could get for him would be insane, given his contract has another year and a half, and the money owed is nothing for a player as valued as him. You also are not realistically going to compete in the West within the time frame of his contract, so holding on to him makes absolutely no sense to me. The Miami Heat had been struggling for a while, but now they are slowly piecing everything together as they get healthy and Terry Rozier gets comfortable. Despite all the struggles, when it comes down to it, no matter how much the Heat have struggled recently, they are not a team you want to play in the postseason, given their coaching and history of postseason success. Everyone on the Pacers was cooking this week as they went 2-2, but I'm going to read you all these stats. Against the Knicks, Jalen Smith had 20 and 9 off the bench. Mathurin had 31, 5 and 4 on 10 of 14 shooting against the Kings. Siakam had 25, 8 and 9 against the Hornets, while Nesmith had 22, 8 and 4 in that game as well. Against the Rockets, Siakam had 29, 4 and 4, and Turner had 21. This team has so much balance offensively that if they learned how to defend, they might actually be able to reach the Eastern Conference Finals. Definitely a bold take, though. We'll see what they do at the deadline, though. Kyrie Irving made his return this week, and in his second game back, he dropped 36 points with 0 free throws. But I want to talk about Luka, because the fact Luka Doncic dropped 40, 11, and 9 against the Bucks and nobody seems to care should tell you all you need to know about how good he has been this season. Unfortunately, in the game he did that, the Mavericks gave up 48 to Giannis and 30 to Dame, which tells you two things. One being Kyrie needs to get healthy, because then they would outscore everyone, as there is a stat that says if you score more points than the other team, you normally win. And two, the biggest need for this team is defense. If you still don't know why Sabonis and Fox didn't make the All-Star game, you're not alone. I have no idea. De'Aaron Fox is my favorite player, but I can live with him not being one, since he has been very up and down after a hot start. But no Sabonis, that is a joke. The only players that are doing what he's doing nightly are Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis, arguably the 3 best players in the NBA. It really is crazy how he didn't make it. And obviously the Kings lost to the Pistons this week at home, so we have a little shun this week here, so we're going to stop talking about them. In case you missed it, Joel Embiid was diagnosed with a meniscus tear in his knee this week, and he is most likely going to miss a significant amount of time. However, the same day the news broke, Tyrese Maxey dropped 51 in his return from injury and silenced any doubt about him being an all-star. Tobias Harris also had 28, 5 and 7 in that game, but both players were non-existent the rest of the week as they went 0-3 in the next 3 games. The Pelicans are the weirdest team in the NBA to me, because they have weeks where they look awful, and then they have weeks like this week where they dominate everyone, including the best team in the NBA. I really don't know how or why this happens. I mean, Ingram exploded for 40 in a game this week, and Zion dominated in the other 2, and I believe that they will be a tough team to play in the postseason because they have so many deadly weapons. Obviously, health is a big question in the postseason, though, and just with this team in general. I do not understand how Doc Rivers gets to coach the All-Star game this year, despite him only coaching 3 games before he was selected. I really wonder how the NBA chose him, given the fact the Celtics had the best record in the East, and the Heat were the conference finals representatives last year in the finals. If you have any idea how this happened, please enlighten me, because I am very confused. Bradley Beal made his return to Washington this week and went off for 43, which was nice. It'd be a lot nicer if he started doing that against good teams, though, rather than Washington Wizards. All jokes aside, though, it was nice to see, especially since we hosted the Bucks next, and it was probably the best game our Big Three has ever played together, as KD had 28, Beal had 25, and Booker had 32. Yes, the Bucks defense is awful, but we are a work in progress, and I liked what I saw, so I'm not complaining. Obviously, the New York Knicks have been very successful ever since the OG Anunoby trade, but the player that has stood out most to me is Dante DiVincenzo. He has been a perfect complementary piece to the lineup of Brunson, OG, Randall, and Hartenstein, and with OG and Randall out, he has spiked his scoring up as it has been much needed. If he wasn't on the Knicks, I would say he is an underrated player. But the Knicks media does not allow anyone to be underrated, but I did want to shout him out in this week's video. Evan Mobley returned from injury after a long absence, and to send a message, he had 28 and 10 in 24 minutes. Unfortunately, I have to point out how he tends to dominate teams that are vertically challenged, but the Spurs aren't as challenged as some teams, so good job, Mobley, and good job to the Cavs, as they are doing exactly what the Knicks have been doing, yet no one is talking about it. Donovan Mitchell has been a top 10 player in the NBA, as he's averaging 29.6 rebounds and 6 assists this season. I don't care what you want to say about the Knicks. If you're not saying it about the Cavaliers, you need to stop. And since I know a lot of you Knicks fans are typing away in the comment section saying, oh, you can't have the Cavs over the Knicks, you can't ever do that, the Knicks are way better, we're just hurt right now. Well, the Cavaliers have been hurt all year. Darius Garland and Evan Mobley have barely played this season, and the Cavs are still dominated. Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen have been an elite duo, and there's just no argument for them to be lower than the Knicks as of right now. Now, come playoff time, I'll definitely switch it. But as of right now, Cavaliers are the most underrated team in the NBA, and they're the second best team in the Eastern Conference, both in terms of standings and just general feel. In case you were wondering why people think the Thunder are so scary, just look at the game against the Raptors Sunday night. 5 players had 20 or more points in a double overtime thriller. You might be asking how the game went to double overtime if the Thunder are so good. Well, J-Dub didn't play, yet 5 players went off for 20. So this shows how deep this Thunder team is and why they are such a threat. I really hope they add some more size, though, by today's deadline, or else they will have an early playoff exit. I mean, if I were to fill a bracket out right now, I would predict the Pelicans to upset them round 1, because there would be no way they could handle a healthy Zion nor Jonas Valanciunas. I truly believe Rudy Gobert should have been an all-star over Cat. Why have the Timberwolves been number 1 in the West the majority of the year? Because of their defense. Who anchors that defense while averaging around 14 and 13? Rudy Gobert. Who averages 23 and 9 while being a cone and a one-dimensional player? Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, no disrespect to Cat by saying that, but the only reason he is an all-star is team record, as Sabonis has been better, and Rudy Gobert really impacts the Timberwolves record more than Cat. So I don't know, I just feel that Cat shouldn't be there and his teammates should be. But if you're a Timberwolves fan, let me know your thoughts. Nikola Jokic against the Trailblazers Friday night had 27 points, 22 rebounds, and 12 assists. I don't care who you have that stat line against, it needs to be talked about more than it was. But the only games Denver played this week were against the Blazers, so nothing else to say. This week's Shun of the Week goes to the Celtics, who got cooked by Austin Reeves and the Lakers, who did not have LeBron nor Anthony Davis. The worst part about it was that everyone on Boston was healthy, and it was a home game. This had me in hysterical tears. Russell Westbrook reached 25,000 career points this week. Congrats to Russ, who was evidently not the problem on the Lakers last season, as he has flourished in the Clippers over the past year and a half, while the Lakers have started the season struggling, just like last year. I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode of In Case You Missed It. I'm working on putting all the trades together. It looks like Bojan Bogdanovic just got traded to the Knicks. So yeah, we're going to be doing that video tomorrow, in case you missed it, 2024 NBA Trade Deadline Edition. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, as 98% of you watching these videos aren't, so you don't miss that video tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.